Let's talk about combat in Dungeons and Dragons. And there is a reason I want to focus on this topic. A lot of people are very sour with combat. At least people with YouTube channels and followings on places like X. A lot of them may have an issue with combat. I want to talk about combat, and I want to talk about the positive side of combat, what makes people that love combat love it, and what experience everyone who loves combat in a D&D game is really going to look for. And when they have it, trust me, they won't be thinking there's an alternative to that experience. It's going to be the same one. There may be different rules depending on what edition that you are playing, but combat is very important. You know, I don't have an area of the game that I frown at. D&D or whatever system, whatever tabletop role-playing game you put in front of me, I'll love the role play, I'll love whatever we're doing. If we got to roll dice for whatever, I'll accept it. I love all areas of the game, not just combat. But guess what? I do love combat. But I'm not a, say, just a, single, focused mind type of gamer. And there's a lot of gamers out there that you'll call hack and slash gamers. They prefer that over social interaction, role play, in that field, right? What they're doing is just in the action. Some people prefer almost no action and more social interaction, more figuring out what the mystery is. See, you're meeting a person right here who loves it all. When it comes to combat, here's what I would say. Here's what I would say everybody is looking for. It's really simple. It's not hard to figure this out. You'll get it right away. And the game master will know it. You as a player might not even really know how you're going through the experience as good as it is, but the game master will realize it, and you'll hear a lot of game masters complain about elements players aren't doing because they know if you do these elements, they can get this flow of combat going. I'm going to call it the flow of combat. And what it is just the dice start rolling. People are preparing what actions they're going to do on their turns. That is happening quick. Dice are rolled, decisions made, talk is happening. On to the next player, on to the next player back. Everyone is, because of the pace, able to imagine the combat, imagine the actions. It's going so quick that as a player you're not bored and you're watching, you're actually interested to hear what's going on with the other players. And that smoothness is just having you in a flow in your imagination. It gets back to the game master and you cycle around, and that combat's going to go smooth and quick. In old school it might be dangerous, but it's going to be exciting. You're going to hit the flow more often in old school than you would in WotC, I'll admit, right? But when you hit it, it's amazing. And there is something wild, right? It's social interaction is awesome. It really is, right? Like having fun developing your character through talking, managing your way through things, or dealing with puzzles or traps, or whatever other areas of the game. There's a lot of fun to be had, and I love it all. But when I get to combat, it's not that I like bad performances that lead to sour, slow, boring combat, like that have all the elements that you don't like. I like that nail it, start it, go through it, that excitement of imagination and flow during combat. And when I get that, I'm in love with that combat. I have a system on the market called the Neo TTRPG system. And in my editions of that game, Skullhorn and Invasion, my focus on combat is to get it exactly where I'm telling you, right? A smooth flow of continuous play where it's easy for players to know what they're going to do next. So all the things that create the flow and imagination and quickness are all in the combat system that I made for my Neo TTRPG system. And if you're going to play any D&D game with the WotC versions, if something gets in the way of that, my advice would be to remove it. In old school, if you're wondering why old school DMs will be a bit stickler about you as a player during combat, not knowing what you're going to do on your turn. It's because you're breaking that flow. And it is hard to get that feeling. But if you get in the flow, you won't even know where it's coming from. It will just, as a player, feel exciting. It's a high, right? And if you're someone who hasn't enjoyed combat, I guarantee, here's my prediction, my theory. 100% of people that would say they don't like combat, if that was their experience with combat, smooth, quick, imagination flow, exciting, I think that would change their whole perception, their whole take on combat in Dungeons and Dragons. And I would say that's a very valuable part. Talk to a lot of old school people. A lot of people in the hobby have had the experience to know what I'm talking about. That flow of combat is so fucking important. I knew that was a secret sauce thing with D&D, that they did better, because in a certain way your combat has to be meaningful for all these other reasons. See, D&D is a very more advanced game than most people would realize, right? But you really have to realize I get that from just gaming with it a lot. I understood all these different outcomes and why you get them, and why isn't this smooth combat over in this system attracting as many customers as D&D? Is it just a name? No, there's something wrong with the combat. It's smooth, you're right, but there's something lost. There's something not there. And I talked about it recently. I call it the replayable thing, which is another secret sauce with D&D. It's not really a secret sauce. It's like, look, you need to make a game that's easy to be replayed and people want to, and the elements that feel like the reward elements, the improvements from leveling up, all the stuff a lot of people might criticize that are game designers. I would say, look, there's a reason why the majority likes this stuff, and they'll continue to, right? And you bring these elements in, you give a lot of options, you give a lot of freedom for creativity, and you make a game replayable. I think it's why D&D has been so successful, especially the old school. It's why the old school hangs on to people the way it does, right? I think the new WotC editions will not have the longevity in the same way the old school editions from TSR have had, because they're replayable on an insane level, where I find there's a lot of people in the 5e world that don't play forever. There's a lot of people that happened for in 4e. And in 3rd edition, I mean, it's another minority of people that are stuck to that edition. But if you go back to 2nd edition, 1st edition AD&D, original D&D, even at the older ages, and even with some young blood, it's amazing how many people those games hold on to. And they hold on to them because they figured out the one main thing, the replayable factor for the group that likes that game. Now, if you don't like that style, just find a style, but you need to make it replayable. Right, that would be my advice to anybody. But combat, just to say, I think it's true for everyone. There's no one who will say there's an alternative way of enjoying combat. That simple, smooth experience of gameplay where all the players know what they're going to do, and there's a quick pace to mention action, dice rolling, but it's not like you're just skipping so fast you don't take it in. The difference is you're taking it in quickly, but you're then staying in that take-in moment. Like, oh, he just did the action and cut the guy. Okay, cool. You can picture all that in your mind, right? Well, something new's coming in. Your picture gets to keep rolling. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the flow part, right? It's not that you're jumping so fast that you don't enjoy your thing. It's actually quite enjoyable. It's the thing that makes combat not boring, is to get in the flow. The flow of combat is important. And you game designer out there, flow of combat is so fucking important. There's some other elements. Pay attention to games like D&D that have figured it out, right? You don't have to do their wheel, right? But the idea is there, and you need to figure out what that is. I'm not going to mention it to you, but it's the reason D&D combat, if any combat, is succeeding in the hobby. It's D&D. Always has been. It's the one area I think that D&D wins, because the majority do look at what we do like a video game, and they love the action. A lot of people love action. There might be a few loud voices that are very prominent that don't. I get that, but there's a lot of just the majority in the hobby have always since the old school to now, love combat. Combat will always be a loved thing. And it's the biggest attraction piece to D&D, and it's why it wins. It's not just the name, the expectation of combat in a certain way, a certain experience with combat that, regardless of the changes WotC have made, the elements that do get you going, well, they're there. They're there. I don't think they're there well, and it's why the games don't do as good as the old school. It doesn't. Third edition doesn't hold as many third edition people as the older editions held on to their own personal, cult crowds, right? Same thing with 4E and 5E. I think so. There are certain elements not in WotC that TSR got right as far as that goes, but there you go. That's it. Combat flow, and just to repeat, because I think it's so important for all game designers. I think it should just be a regular thing. Replayability should be something you're concerned about. And I notice a lot of game designers thinking there's going to be an assumption of replayability. Don't assume it. Assume there are elements that are on you to figure out to put in there for the sake of making it feel like replayability brings variety and other things like that, right? Like you need to put in variety. Variety usually helps, and it doesn't mean you need to have a whole bunch of stuff, but even if you have like 4 things, can you do a lot with those 4 things? Like, what's the variety? That helps. Shit like that. But any replayability stuff is really important. Anyway, I love you, at least most of you. For now, take care.